How Long Gone? Super Sunday. I am in Charleston, South Carolina at my friend Brooks's house. It's beautiful. It's humid. I am in the kind of family room area with the Samsung frame on the wall, so I'm feeling quite comfortable. It's got the yellow USM really popping.
Oh, could you describe the wallpaper behind you? It looks like all the chef listeners who have like a tattoo of sorrel or fennel on their forearm. It's a lot of that.
It's from that store in Stockholm that I can't say the name of, but it's Svext 10 basically is what it's called, and it's sort of they're really famous for wallpaper. They have a lot of it here, but also they do the thing. I don't know if they're credited with starting this, but wrapping sort of a guide pole down steps in leather. So it's much more pleasant, they do that, but it's one of the greatest home stores in the world, but that is the wallpaper.
God, I would love a leather banister.
It's one of those things that you're like, do I need that? And then you're like, yeah, I think I do.
Do I need Jimmy Choo purple micro suede banister? Yeah, I do.
That's exactly what you need, as long as it's purple.
Okay, so it's hot and humid down there in the Carolinas. You gonna go water skiing after this?
Yeah,
Got a crab cake? What's going on?
We're going low country mode. No, we're going to the beach later. So that we're doing a change of location. But I was able to go to Vern's, which is the restaurant I really like here, and then see some drunk college students, and you head on out. It's not much.
Okay.
I had a lot of vegetables. They were really. It's really. I've been to this restaurant a handful of times, and I feel like it was kind of meat heavy, but because it's summer, like what is available was much more my speed.
Half the things on the menu involve peas, I'm assuming.
You already know there's beans out the ass. We got peas, we got carrots. I mean, there's strawberries in the dessert. It's everywhere.
I just want to make sure that I know you're on holiday right now, and we're probably not doing all of your supersets that Hunter has prescribed you. You're probably not hitting deadlift PRs today. But I do want to. Well,
that's where you're wrong. I don't mean to.
And trust me, I would love to be wrong. But I just want to make sure that we're getting enough teen, because those lima beans are good and the purple carrots are good, but
of course, yeah, of course.
Temple requires a little more fuel than the average bear.
No, and you're right, and sometimes the menu doesn't allow for that, and that's upsetting for me and all of the Instagram trainers I follow that tell you need 500 grams of protein before noon.
Just have a couple chomp sticks in your back pocket in case you get a little lightheaded. Is all I'm saying.
The gym, there's a gym here that I love called Ethos. That's like maybe the best independent gym I've ever been to, but I'll tell you what, nobody's skipping their protein. It's Soho Equinox levels of hotties, but just like Southern versions, which is a very funny thing for me to witness.
What's their water bottle vessel down there at Ethos?
Oh, Stanley with the straw. You already know.
Stanley but no Labubu, no dangler.
No danglers actually, which is surprising because this feels like a dangler culture.
It's just mostly people whose last name is Dangler. That's just Kitty Dangler.
Is Dangler a fishing term, or is that your last name? I don't know what that means totally.
It's both.
It's both. What's going on with you?
I'm a little hungover just in terms of going out and doing events the last few days. I DJ'd a party for a watch company on Thursday. Urban Jurgensen. It's a relaunch of an old watch brand of Nordic descent in some
Swedish,
way.
right? Or is it somewhere? Is it from somewhere else?
Something, yeah. I would say probably Swedish, but I'm not 100% sure. But they rented out the Barker hangar in Santa Monica, where they famously did the Barney's Warehouse sales back in the day, where a young Jason really became a man, where I was able to afford high-level luxury on a graffiti artist's budget.
Finally, I could get a Barney's branded button-up shirt for $50.
No. I was getting real shit, bro. I have my little Helmut Lang jeans. I have my little this, little that. I had, some pieces were procured, but...
Not pieces.
Just some archival stuff. But, I mean, it was the joy of going in and being like, oh, here are like designer jeans that I cannot afford for like $70. This is amazing.
And you don't have to shoplift them either. You don't
have to shoplift. And then you look to the other half of the airplane hangar, and it's just hundreds of the most beautiful women you've ever seen, ripping their clothes off in an open hanger.
That's a beautiful sight. Sample sales get women acting crazy.
There's no time for fitting rooms.
There's no time for fitting rooms, and also I think that it could lead a normally passive woman to fight. To throw hands, to scratch, to claw.
A garment being ripped between two professional women. An agent provocateur twin set being ripped in half because we couldn't find a solution to
Calm
this.
Calm down. I'm getting a little too excited.
But it was probably like the nicest, most impressive build out I've ever been to. And it was eclipsing, Oscars, Grammys, Emmys, events that we've been to, like the top of the top stuff. This was more than that. And they built like an entire like Stanley Kubrick movie set dining area that could have been in Mission Impossible or any of these crazy movies.
How long was your set?
45 minutes.
I love that.
They built a custom stage with a DJ booth, and they asked, because I always have in my technical rider, like, can the DJ equipment be set up?
Hey, Chief, don't act like I haven't seen your technical rider before, okay?
I know that you have the PDF
it.
saved on your phone as well as in my Dropbox, so you can send it to all the clients just easily. You don't have to bug me about it. But for our listeners, in the technical rider, here's the CDJs, here's the, I like my monitor on the left side, on the right, the little things. But I'm very tall, so please have the equipment set up on a tall table. Mm-hmm. And if not, then on top of their flight cases, give me a little booster.
Yeah.
And they came back and said, how tall do you want it to be? And I was like, I'm 6'9", so about. And they're like, no, we're building you a custom DJ
like we could just
booth.
do it. Like we
Tell
could just
me
do
how
it.
many inches you want it to be. And for the first time in my entire life, I'm over here and I'm on my kitchen counter and I have my tape measure. I'm like, so that's one. Okay. I mean, and I was able to email them a
great.
specific inch, and they built it perfectly for me. I felt like
thank God,
a damn princess. They didn't give me a watch, but they cost several $100,000s.
Thank God you have a tape measure. That would throw me off if they were like, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Can I eyeball it, or is this kind of an exact thing?
We're gonna get you if Tekla makes one. Hopefully, I don't know. Then you might add it to your collection. But after that, I went to the Interview magazine party. Friend of the show, Mel Ottenberg, threw at the Eagle.
Yes.
In Los Angeles, LA's gayest leather kind of bar and grill, we'll call it, right by the Erewhon Silver Lake.
The food's really good actually. So I'm glad that you kind of are shining a light on that.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Their fermentation program right now is stunning.
Because I saw a lot of coverage of this party, and Mariah Carey was wheeled out, and I'm wondering, did Mariah Carey do or say anything, or did she simply stand there and that's enough?
Unfortunately, because of my previous engagements with the Erben Jorgensen company, I missed the emancipation of Mimi. But from what I gathered from the local onlookers, she has a new song that just came out or whatever, so it was like a little bop-in press thing. But when you said they wheeled her out, that was an accurate description. I don't think that she had the in-ear at sound check all afternoon, tweaking the low, mid, high frequencies. She came out, the DJ hit play on the CDJ, and she stood there with a microphone in her hand that didn't need to be turned on or off. And
Weekend at Bernadette's is what I'm going to call it. Is what we're going to call this? But
also everyone,
who cares?
Alternatively, they were like, she looked flawless. Yes, she may have had some work done. Yes, most of her body and face is not organic material. But everyone was like, she looked as good as Mariah Carey in 2025 could possibly look.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
As long as she looks good and she can do the Christmas song when Christmas comes around, then we're good. Mariah Carey's set for life.
Her song that came out yesterday, it does not need to be good or bad. It doesn't matter. It's just there. It's fine. Who cares?
It doesn't matter. It just gives her a reason to show up, which is all we need from her, really.
But ran into a lot of every gay guy that has been on How Long Gone who lives in LA was at this event. And everyone was like, oh, look who's here at the Eagle. Kind of, because who don't know, everyone that works there, half the people that attend there are wearing nothing but a jock strap and
Sure.
like an arm
Leather harness, maybe.
when you have like the divorced mom iPhone armband, they use
for
that
exercise, but
they use that to keep their their baggie and their ID and like a piece of gum or something, like that's their arm purse because
it also gets blood to the bicep, which is nice. For these
kind of like how the Ultimate Warrior would tie little ribbons around the
exactly.
biceps, get a little pump going. It's fine. But so I went from DJing this kind of black tie cocktail event. So I showed up to the Eagle, in a full suit.
Okay, so you're taking over my cop outfit in this situation.
Yeah.
How did it feel?
It was a fish out of water situation.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Great party. Had a beautiful time. It was amazing.
I'm glad you left your badge in the car because they will.
Don't worry, fellas. I'm off duty tonight. Not like that. Not like that.
Chill. Mariah's on stage right now. Don't disrespect the queen. All right.
Happy birthday to Umberto from opening ceremony. Went to his birthday party last night. Another reason why I'm mildly hungover. And shout out to all my Cat's Eye members who were up in the building. Great to link and build with them once again.
I'm sure they're super fun to talk to. We have we howlonggone.com is the website. We have several shows coming up. Get your tickets now. It's very easy to understand how to do that. When you're on our website, you click on the link and you put in your credit card. Mm-hmm. It's very simple. You do it all the time with Jeff Bezos.
We're building out some great guests and some great fun things to talk about on tour. It'll be a little bit of a different show. We're excited to give it to you. It's gonna be great. So we look forward to seeing all of y'all around the world.
All y'all. But we do have a guest today, and it's James Frey, the writer, who you may have been familiar with from A Million Little Pieces, his book that came out in 2006 and caused a real uproar because Oprah said it was the best and then found out some of it wasn't true and then got mad at him, and it was this whole thing. But he's written several books, and he has a new one called Closer to Heaven that comes out on the 17th. We got him today. There's a big New York Times story in the cover of the style section came out today, right before we talked to him. And like a real one, he hasn't read it. So you can before you listen to this if you want, but follow in his footsteps.
Yeah, it was the first time I was like, wow, I read something that our guests didn't. I feel and I've never.
It's the first time for everything.
It was the first time for everything, but we already did speak with him. And I will say it was one of my favorite convos we've had on the pod in a while. He's a really, really interesting guy, and it was an honor to talk to him.
No, it's fascinating to live. I mean, truly being like canceled before that was a thing, and before the internet really dominated our lives is such a rare air to occupy. I just don't know. I can't think of anyone else really.
He was canceled before cancellations happened. He was an autofiction writer before autofiction was a coined phrase. I think there's a few firsts that we discussed with him.
Totally.
By no design of his own, just the way that his twisted mind seemed to shake things out in his life. But yeah, really interesting guy. And like I said, an honor to talk to him. It was cool.
All right. Thank you, Jason. We'll see you next week. All right, James. So you're staying caffeinated, but you're saying there's a new drink at Dunkin' Donuts that you want to put us onto?
Well, this is called the Dunkin' Latte, and it's some kind of like sweet, sugary, delicious coffee drink. And I probably go to my local Dunkin' Donuts like every other day, and I get the biggest Dunkin' Latte they can get. If you can see, there's almost no ice in this.
There's almost no coffee in it either, though, James.
You know what, man? It tastes delicious. And that's all I give a shit about.
But the sugar, I think the sugar can mimic caffeine at a certain point.
That's fine too, man. Do not give a shit what's in the Dunkin' Latte because it brings me great pleasure and great joy.
And I got to say, for a man who drinks that much Dunkin' Latte, seemingly thousands of liquid calories, you look amazing.
Thank you.
So well done.
Well, there's a reasonable chance. I have really weird eating habits because for a good many years I was super poor. And I worked in a bar where they would give me free dinner every night at 7:30. And my shift as the doorman, it was a bar in Chicago, was from 8 to 4. The bars stay open till 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I trained myself when I was like 23, 24 to not eat ever until 7 12:30 at night.
Okay, so we're waiting till the free meal hits at work.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were writing autofiction before autofiction, and you were intermittent fasting before intermittent fasting.
Honestly, man, not by any great design. Like, I didn't have any money to buy food, and my job at the lodge at Diversity Avenue in Chicago gave me a free dinner.
Okay, so no breakfast, no lunch, eat a big meal at 7:40, work at a bouncer at a Chicago bar until 4 in the morning, go to sleep, wake up, do it all over again.
Yeah,
Sick.
that was my life at 23.
I mean,
and 24.
being a door guy in Chicago, I feel like that's maybe second worst to Boston. I feel like people get rowdy.
People get rowdy. At the bars in Chicago, they have a really specific system for doormen. There's always two of them. There's one smart guy and there's one mean guy, right?
Sure.
And so I'm 5'11" and probably weigh 175.
Smart guy.
I would always be the smart guy, and it was my job to try to stop the fights or the incidents before they actually occurred. If I could not do that, I would simply step aside and big guy would come in and take care of things.
You were drinking then, right?
I was not. I was sober.
Oh, you weren't. You were already done.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was done.
That's an interesting position to put yourself in.
I kind of did it deliberately, man. Like, it sounds crazy, but I wanted the test. I wanted baptism by fire. I didn't want to spend my life hiding from alcohol. I didn't want to. All my friends were drinkers.
Yeah.
A lot of them were drug users, and it was, I'm going to adjust myself to the world instead of try to make the world adjust to me. Right.
I mean, I think it's a better approach and has more kind of long-standing benefits to kind of move through the world.
I thought so. Like, I'm still sober 32 years later, so it didn't fuck me up. But
As long as the fire in this trial doesn't kill you, it's awesome.
it may at some point, but it hasn't yet.
Sure.
There have been all kinds of fires. I'm walking through them all the time.
I didn't realize you've been sober for that long. That's like that's an eternity.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
You got out of your system early.
I was fucked up young, man. The world was a little different. I think people got fucked up differently and in more sort of insane ways in the 70s and 80s. But yeah, I got it young. In a lot of ways, I was lucky. I was super lucky to get sober young.
What age did it start? I was actually just talking about this with my wife yesterday. We were talking to a friend who's, 45 and got sober in their teens. And there's always a good story when that happens. It usually involves drinking at 12.
My earliest memories of drinking are when I would go to Cleveland Browns football games with my father as a pretty young kid.
I mean, when in Rome, what choice do you have, I think?
Yeah, man. But I remember I would always see adults drink, and when they drink, they would be happier, right? So there was some part of me like, well, I want what that thing that they're having. And I remember at Browns games, I would always be like, can I have a sip of your beer, Dad? Can I have a sip of your beer, Dad? I don't know how old I was, 8, 9, 10. And my dad would give me a sip of the beer. And that wasn't uncommon back then in 1978.
No.
And I remember I did feel it, and it did make me feel better. And I probably really, I remember I smoked my first cigarette at like 10 or 11. My buddy Clay Remington, we stole a pack of his mom's Virginia Slims menthols. But I was drinking or using drugs at least once a week by probably 13. Which again wasn't incredibly uncommon back then. There were plenty of other kids that would fuck it up with me.
Sure. Well, I like that it's old school and it's drinking and not, you're not huffing glue, you're not spraying.
Oh, we did
paint.
all that.
Oh,
man.
you did.
We used
Okay.
to walk around school with bottles of poppers in our pockets, right? We used to smoke, get high before school. I mean, the drugs. Now everybody just takes pills. Back then it was, let's smoke cocaine. Let's smoke meth. Let's take acid and smoke meth.
Sure.
Very different than like smoking a joint or taking a pill and watching TV and eating a bag of Doritos.
It is. I do think there is something there about it was a little more of like a social bonding thing among friends when you're younger, and now it's like, you take an edible and sit at home alone and watch Netflix.
Yeah. Also, the phone is the greatest, the most powerful drug in the world now, right? It's the great pacifier. Before the phone, kids had to go out and meet up and find fun and raise hell. And now they just sit home and send each other TikTok videos, right? Like,
Well, there is a little bit of hope for the future of youth because some kids in my neighborhood and maybe yours as well have discovered the $10,000 electric bicycle that they can sort of terrorize the neighborhoods with if they complain enough for their parents to buy them one.
yeah, no, we have a lot of those.
As long as they don't have to pedal or exert any force themselves, they're able to look at their phone while driving 40 miles an hour down a residential street.
Yeah.
All is well.
Yeah.
I didn't know that had blown up with kids. I only, when you live in New York, you think of that only as a delivery driver method.
Out here in New Canaan, if you drive through the town, you will see streets filled with Mercedes, Range Rovers, BMWs, and Porsches, and teenage boys on scooters going fast.
And they're ready to die. And also anywhere in LA. Manhattan, it's not really, you need the open streets to really get it going.
Yeah.
To really get it going.
Yeah, it's
I
like
get
the
that.
Honda mini bike of today. Remember those little Honda 50s?
Yeah,
that we
yeah,
used to
yeah.
Those did seem sort of dangerous and safe because they only went so fast.
Yeah, you know, Honda just started, or they just started making them again, retro version.
Did they increase the price to reflect the collectability?
They made them a little faster. They're not cheap. They're like $6,000 for a little funny thing, right?
I'm just not a gearhead like that. Like I don't need to. I need a car to drive to and from places. I don't need any other motorized things in my life.
See, I love driving cars fast. I drive cars fast like a motherfucker all the time.
Me too. I love it.
What kind of car do you have? Do you have a fast car?
He's a Porsche guy.
I do. I've had all kinds of fast cars over my life. I currently have two fast cars. Yeah, I have two fast cars right now. I have a 1989.5 Porsche 964 C4 that has been heavily modified to go very, very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a Mercedes GLA 45 AMG, which is a little hot rod hatchback.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, we were talking before we got on about process, right?
Yeah.
One of the reason I love driving cars so fast is because when I write, I fall into this, I call it a fever dream where I have absolute, like almost hyper focus, right? I can sit in front of a computer for 10 or 12 or 14 hours with absolute focus. And it's this remarkable feeling, right? People talk about flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been meditating for 30 years and practicing Taoism. And in Taoism, we call it Wu Wei Wu. Thinking, not thinking. And the easy analogy is when a professional athlete is a very, very good one is performing their sport, they don't think about what they're doing. They have practiced it so much and they have done it so much that they just fall into a state where they can think without thinking, right? And when I write, I enter a state like that. And it's the most glorious thing in life that I've known. Not the most, but certainly one of them.
Yeah, your kids might be listening, so let's be careful.
Well, I love my children. They know that. But when you have to drive a car very, very fast on a public road, and when I say very fast, I'm talking, very fast. It requires that same hyper focus. It requires that same absolute fever dream of a state of if you make a mistake in a car at 150 miles an hour, you die. And that's the sort of hyper focused state I enter into when I write. Precision, control, flow, right? And so that's why I drive cars fast, just chasing that state of absolute presence. You have to be absolutely present. And when I write, I feel that too. It's the only two places in my life where I play hockey too. So sometimes there, but I'm not a great player.
I was going to ask if there was a secret third thing, but two is a lot.
I play hockey. I started playing hockey when I was 42, when I moved to Connecticut. I joined this league. That's a pretty hardcore league. There are a bunch of NHL players and stuff, and former ones and former college guys. And so the only thing I figured when I started playing hockey was learn you can fight. You're a great fighter. Been in thousands of fights. So just go on the fucking rink and be the nastiest enforcer they've ever seen.
So you're in the Connecticut.
You're the Connecticut goon.
Yeah, yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, Connecticut needs more goons, if you ask me. Okay, so when you're able to reach this flow state where you could write 10, 12, 14 hours a day, how difficult is it to really lock into that? Are you able to do it easily now? I feel like if Chris was able to write 14 hours a day, this book would be done in a weekend, huh?
Yeah, I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes.
I can't do it easily.
What do you need? What do you need to get there? Like, are there certain things you have need on your desk, and liquids and Nicorette and the whole? Like, do you need all the supplies?
So when I write a book, the way I write, which is pretty odd, is at some point I will always have at any given time as I walk around 3 or 4 books in my head that will sort of occasionally talk to me. I write books because I have difficulty managing and processing my own emotions, right? My own pain, my own feelings, and they build up. And at a certain point, I have a choice: write a book or hurt myself. Write a book or do something I shouldn't do. And so as I start to feel that, I start letting those books that talk to me come forward a little bit, and one of them will always sort of assert itself. And then I usually, it sounds ridiculous, I talk to my therapist, and I've had the same therapist for 20 some years. And we have a whole process that I go through as I get ready to write a book. And we sort of approach it like a fighter approaches a fight, right? I start meditating more. I start bringing my focus in. I stop taking an antidepressant to let all those feelings come up more.
Oh,
Wow. You stop jacking off?
Absolutely not. Um,
We can remove the chi. That's fine.
I don't believe in that one.
Thank God.
And there will come a day where I just feel like I'm ready to rock. I don't use outlines. I don't read what I write. I've never read a book I've written. Every book I've written except for A Million Little Pieces was a first draft. And I lock in and I turn up music real loud.
music with
And
lyrics. Music with lyrics.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you got Led Zeppelin blasting on the hi-fi, and you're just cranking this shit out.
Yes.
That's kind of the Stephen King method, right?
I use music in very specific ways. So it's not always Zeppelin. What I do to music is, so I've already sort of heightened my feelings, right? I've allowed those things that sort of control my emotions to be taken away so that I'm at full maximum emotional.
Yeah.
And I turn on music and I use the music to manipulate myself into further emotional states so that when I'm writing about rage, I listen to rage filled music. When I'm writing about sadness, I listen to sad music. When I'm writing about love, I listen to music about love. And these things make me feel what I want to write about. And I always say I have to feel what I'm writing about when I write it. And writing's a very physical process for me. I dance, I rock, I hug myself. Sometimes I get teary. I let the floodgates out and I turn up the music, whatever it is. And I say I bare my fucking soul. I let it fucking rip. No filter, no nothing. When I write, I try to be absolutely as precise as possible. It's always what's the next word? What's the next best word? Next best word, next best word, next best word. And it's never about rules. It's never about anything, but what is the next best word? What word will make me feel what I want a reader to feel? And I know if I can feel it in the moment while I'm writing it, there's a high possibility that a reader will feel it when they read it. And so this fever dream state that I get in, I'm rocking, I'm dancing, I'm getting upset, I'm writing, I type with 2 fingers.
I'm really getting a visual here. You're doing a great job of explaining
It
this.
seems like something so simple, like, oh, me write sad chapter, put on sad music, but I don't think I've ever really heard anyone explain it that way, and it is quite logical. So when the rage is happening, is it a Pantera? Where are we going musically?
For rage, it could be Black Sabbath, early Black Sabbath. It could
Okay.
be Sex Pistols. It could be The Clash. It could be Ronnie James Dio. It could be AC/DC with Bon Scott.
Okay.
It could be a host of Zeppelin or Guns N' Roses, Black Flag, all the punk from the 80s, right? Like music that makes me want to fight.
Okay.
Right? Music I listen to before I go play a fucking hockey game.
I could see you sitting in the car right now in the Porsche, just blasting AC/DC before you hit the rink. Getting in the zone.
You know what song I listen to before I go to the rink? It's so cheesy. It's embarrassing listening to it. I listen to two tunes. The rink's like 7 minutes from my house, so I listen to two tunes when I go over. I first listen to "Eye of the Tiger" by Survivor,
Little on the nose. Okay. Okay.
and then I listen to "Here I Go Again" by Whitesnake.
Oof.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a real.
When Whitesnake go, the RPMs might kick in a little higher on that second chorus, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or I might get a real stern look on my face and think about who I'm going to play and be like, I'm going to fuck that motherfucker up. But yeah, I love my hockey. All three of them are like finding this state of having to be present, right? Disappearing from active thought and entering into a state of thoughtless action.
Yeah,
right?
it's just muscle, like subconscious muscle, mind, memory. It's just happening through you. But as somebody who got sober at such a young age, are you envious of people who are able to, a little microdose of mushrooms, go to the desert and have it all just automatically flow through you, through your spirit animal? Are you envious of that versus having to, go through these trials yourself?
No, man. I love what I do. I love writing. I love the process of it. I've taken so many drugs in my life. I don't need any more.
Right.
Somebody asked me recently if I wanted to do DMT and ayahuasca, and I was like, no fucking way. And they were like, why? And I was like, dude, I'm a battle scarred, worn out old man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't need that madness anymore. I'm really happy. Like, I live in the woods next to a river.
Yeah.
I'm far happier going and sitting next to my river and meditating for an hour than like putting on a bikini and taking some drug in the desert.
I mean, having spoken to you for 19 minutes, I feel like ayahuasca comes and talks to you for advice versus the other way around,
It's a rare reversal of roles.
Rare reversal of roles.
Speaking of Connecticut, I wanted to know a little bit of like what's in the water over there right now after, the theme of your new book. Were you upset when the John Hamm Apple TV show arrived a couple months ago involving the dark underbelly of Connecticut high society? Or were you like, all right, this is good?
I actually know the guy who wrote it, Jonathan Tropper. He's a really, really old friend of mine. He's a lovely dude. He's like, I have nothing but delightful, kind, wonderful things to say about him. And to be very honest, like, I'm thrilled for his success. He's a friend. I want him to do great. I'm thrilled for him. I'm happy for him. The show's really good.
This is a big moment for Connecticut, though. There's a lot of that's the why now, I guess is maybe the question.
I think because we have seen over the last like 7 to 10 years an accumulation of wealth by a small group of citizens that is unlike anything we've ever seen, right? The accumulation of wealth in the last decade is just astounding. And we have, created an oligarchy in the United States. We talk about like being this free country, this place where everybody's equal, but the reality is that's horseshit. There are the uber rich, and then there's everyone else. And everyone else is also determined by class, right? How you exist in the world is entirely determined by class. And I will say, like, these little bubbles have existed for a long time, these bubbles of insane wealth. But I think as the country gets and the world gets more dangerous and more unstable, people think, well, what are the rich people? What are they like? What's their life like compared to mine? What are these little bubbles that they live in? And I've lived in one for a long time.
Well, are you, and I know you've done quite well, but are you like the brokest guy in your neighborhood kind of vibe?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
nice.
Like, I'm not broke, and I'm the brokest motherfucker around.
Which, I mean, everyone says that's where you want to be, right?
Yeah.
You have the shittiest house on the nicest block. So you go 150 past Paul Simon's house and flip them off, and a little bit. I'm sure your neighborhood is filled with fellow luminaries like yourself. I don't want you to dox yourself.
I mean, there's a lot of people you would know who live around here. It's a small town. It's 19,000 people. From 1880 to 2015, it was the wealthiest town in the United States. It's now the second or third. And it's this incredible, insane little bubble with the best school system in the country, the best sports programs in the country, the safest place in the country, the largest park system in the country. It is a different world here. And the way the book came about was during the pandemic, somebody asked me to read Hollywood Wives by Jackie Collins because they were thinking about turning it into a television show. And I read it and I fucking loved it. It was great. If you've never read it, check it out, man. It's funny and dirty and dramatic. And
I'm at the beach. This sounds appropriate.
yeah, it is appropriate, man. And I read it and I was like, this is fucking great. And the people who want to make the television show want to make a very tame version of it. So I declined to participate. But I started thinking, like, I read another Jackie Collins book. I read a couple Danielle Steele books. And I was like, what would one of these books look like if it were written by me? What would one of these books look like if it was written by a motherfucker who has lived among the richest people in the world for a long time and sat silently observing, watching, sometimes participating, but often just quietly sitting in the corner, right?
Oh, so you're a watcher in the orgies. That's good to know. I was wondering.
Not the orgies, just in the culture.
I'm sorry. I got confused. Okay, I got confused.
Okay, I know you did not use AI to write this novel whatsoever, but it seems like a fun thing to be like, what would happen if me, James Frey, wrote a book in this, got my Jackie Collins on or whatever it is, just to crap it out and see what would happen. Did you at least do that?
No, I have tested a lot with AI. There's some dumb controversy about me and AI right now.
Mm-hmm.
What is the controversy?
So
too many M dashes. That's how they get you every time.
Yeah, I don't use M dashes. So two. I've always sort of been, I believe, on the front edge of like what is possible with words and technology. My old company, Full Fathom 5, like we were the first company to release a book with the audio soundtrack synchronized to it. We were the first people to release a book that we did with a video game company where you had to read the book to play the game and you had to play the game to understand the book. And they came out all kinds of like forward thinking things like this. So when AI became functional, I was very interested in it. I'm always interested in things that can make me better at my job and make my job faster. And so I fucked around for probably 4 months with a full book where AI wrote some of it. I wrote some of it. I was fucking around with it. The book ultimately ended up being a piece of shit. And so I threw it away.
Do you feel like you got it to a point where at least the AI portion voice was correct, or did it never feel right to you?
AI doesn't have humanity yet, right? It can get you part of the way there, but it can't. Remember when earlier I was talking about emotions? It can't do that. It doesn't understand that.
Can't.
And that's all I really do. I tell stories, but really my stories are all about like sending you on this crazy emotional ride where if I'm successful, I make you feel whatever it is deeply: love, lust, pain, loss, sorrow, fear. And so in a lot of ways, AI works very precisely against what I am always trying to do, which is touch a reader's soul, touch a reader's heart. But it is, and that book was a piece of shit, right? It was fun to do. It let me sort of know what is possible. And then after I did it, 2 years ago, Le Centre Pompidou, the Contemporary Art Museum in Paris, had a literary festival about literature and technology. And I was the keynote speaker talking about AI and writing. And I was real open with it. Like, yeah, I'm testing it. I'm writing a book with it. I want to see what it can do. If it's a tool that can make me a better writer and provide a reader with a better experience, I'm going to test it. I'm going to fuck around with it. I'm going to see. And at this point, I use AI. I do use it, and I'm not scared to admit it, but I use it as a highly, highly efficient and advanced version of Google, right?
Me too.
If you ask Google a question, it will give you 20 results, and you have to go sift through them to find the answer. If you ask AI a question, it just gives you the fucking answer, right? That's what I use it
Yeah,
for.
and it gives you a great answer, and it gives you an answer that it thinks you will like based on your brain.
Right.
You can keep pinching and zooming that info, and there's no bullshit. There's no pop-up ads. There's
Right.
no 19 million search queues.
But like in Next to Heaven, I'm writing about rich people. I know a lot about rich people. I know a lot about the shit rich people like. But a simple example is like there's scotch comes into play during the book, right? I know nothing about scotch.
Yeah.
When I was a fucking drinker, I drank like Wild Irish Rose and Mad Dog, right? And Colt 45. So I know nothing about the most expensive scotches in the world. I've never attempted to learn anything, but I can go to AI and say, what's the most expensive bottle of scotch in the world? And it tells me, boom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes it a lot easier to do things.
No, that's a good example.
Well, do you think that as you've written so many books, lived so many years, your intellectual gamesmanship has increased over the years, or are you still purely writing from the heart without the desire to sound or look clever?
I don't ever give a shit about sounding and looking clever, man. Right?
It hasn't changed at all since the beginning of your writing journey.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think how I work has changed a lot. I was talking about the process. I used to do some version of that instinctually, right? And over time with the therapist, we really sort of dug into why do I do these things? What do these things do for me? How can we refine them to make them work the best and most efficiently? So there's a whole process leading up to the book. There's the book. I wrote this book in 57 days. I probably work 12 to 16 hours a day. From the day I start writing a book till the day I finish, I take no days off. It's a straight run. And then, during that period, I don't talk to the therapist at all until about a week before I think I'm going to be done. And then we start preparing me to finish, because the day I finish, I fall into a black hole of like suicidal depression.
Wow. Okay.
And so there are specific processes I follow, right? And these things have been refined over time and through books, but the goal is still the same, which is to overwhelm a reader with story and unconventional application of words and grammar, to make you feel things really deeply, to thrill you, to scare you, to turn you on, to make you feel hate, to make you feel rage. It's to provide a reader with an experience unlike anything they've ever had. I try to do that with every book. So when people are like, what do you want from a reader? I want somebody to pick up Next to Heaven and start reading it, and to not be able to stop until it's over. And when it's over, to laugh and say, I can't believe he did that. I can't believe this exists. And I'm so happy that he did, and it does. And that's it.
The son of a bitch has done it again.
That motherfucker is never going away. Fuck that dude.
I mean, what have you been doing in the last, whatever, since 2006, 7, 8? Have you been just writing? Have you done
that,
I mean, you had the company, I know.
What have you been doing? So my first 3 books, A Million Little Pieces, My Friend Leonard, and Bright Shiny Morning, were all global #1 bestsellers, right?
Yeah.
My 4th book was a #1 in most countries. It was published outside of the United States. The 4th book was called The Final Testament of the Holy Bible. And we couldn't publish it in the United States because I would have been killed. So I'm the only novelist to ever be published by Gagosian, the art gallery, as an artist, not as a writer or as a novelist. They published The Final Testament of the Holy Bible as a work of art. Wow. I took a bunch of years off after that. I started Full Fathom 5. That company worked. We published 250 books over 7 years. We had 41 New York Times bestsellers. We had 16 #1s. We had a #1 film, #1 television show, #1 video game globally, all of them.
Sam.
I sold that company to a French private equity business who was in the process of forming what became the world's largest influencer network. a company called Webedia 3 Black Dot, and I was the global chief content officer and creative director for that company from 2017 to 2022.
Oh, you had like a real job for 5 years.
I mean, I was running big businesses.
Did you want to do that? Did you want to do that, or did you look up one day and you're like, shit, I guess this is what I do now?
I mean, once you get soft canceled, you got to become a creative director.
Yeah, we laugh, but I did it. After I wrote, do you mind if I go walk around a quick minute while we talk?
No, do your thing.
Roam freely.
After I wrote the Bible, I was on this big book tour in Europe where it was published normally. And I remember I was in a fucking hotel room in the middle of the night somewhere, and I was like, why the fuck are you still doing this, man? You've written 4 books. You have rocked the fucking world. You have 3 number ones. 4th book is published by Gagosian as a work of art.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's time to walk away. Maybe it's just time to stop. You don't know. You got nothing left to prove, right? Whatever there was to prove has been proven. And I was tired of it, man. People don't think about it, but the shit that I dealt with, it takes it out of you. It's not easy to fight Oprah, the New York Times, and every other media motherfucker in the planet and try to survive it when they're trying to destroy you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're definitely up for the fight, but it will take its toll after a while.
Yeah, it will take its toll.
Yeah, I would say you're more up for the fight than anyone I've ever met, probably, based on this conversation so far.
Or just go look what I did. I never stopped. People are like, what have you been doing? And what I say is pumping out number ones. Still do it. That's what I do.
Well, how did you feel then? Because this New York Times story came out today, and I assume that's the first time you've talked to them in a while.
It was the first time I've talked to them since a brief Well, I can't really talk about all of the conversations I've had with them, but it was the first time I've had a significant interview with them, maybe ever.
Really? Oh, so they didn't do one in the heyday?
No, they wrote a lot about me. They came after me hard, but I never gave them an interview. I would usually give them the finger or tell the reporter Ed Wyatt,
suck my dick, Ed.
Yeah, he's a chump, man. I would just tell him to fuck off and hang up on him.
So why did you feel ready to do it now? I mean, obviously you have a book coming out and there's reason to do it, but why did you personally feel ready?
Because I did all that other stuff, right? And I'm ready to do this again. And because I want to do it for real, right? I still see literature dying. I see serious reading dying, and I see nobody doing anything to try to stop it, right? And it's not like I'm some grand fucking crusader, but I love books. I love reading. I love writing. I think it's important, and it's becoming classical music, right? This very small thing that is loved by a small amount of people. I want it to live, and I think writers today are mostly cowards. They write books for awards and professorships. They don't write books to make great art. They don't write books to rock the world. They don't write books to keep literature alive. They write books for a hug and for an award.
Yeah, your quote on in the Times piece, everybody wants a hug and a Pulitzer, and I don't need either one. And I've noticed that we interview a lot of authors, and it seems like the whole point of the whole everything is to go on a fun book tour, try out some new restaurants in Portland and Seattle, and then eventually, hopefully, Hulu buys it for a series, and we start all over again. And that's kind of
not the
extent of it.
Yeah, not for me, man. I want to burn the fucking world down. I want to light it up. I want to force people to read things and think and feel and change and talk and believe that literature can still be great, that literature can still be transformative, that words still have power, that stories still have power. And there are very few motherfuckers left in the world who are ready to bring it, right? Like I said, everybody wants to be safe and comfortable and beloved. I'm none of those. I've said as soon as I stop being dangerous, I stop. But the point for me of art and literature isn't hugs. It's to make things that matter, make things that force people to look at the world they live in and deal with it, make people look in the fucking mirror and think about what they see.
Okay, now that's where I draw the line because I don't love doing that. So
I don't love doing it either, man, but I do it every day. And I always say all I ever do in any book I write is I hold up a mirror to our society and I force you to look at it. And you probably aren't going to like what you fucking see. And that's not my fucking problem. That's my job.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, if the world of books and book reading has sort of shrunken down, classical music, I feel like, is a great analogy for it. Do you feel like you writing about a very specific subject, how rich people live in a wealthy suburb in Connecticut?
We don't call it a suburb. We call it a country town.
Okay, a conclave, perhaps. But if you wanna hold up a mirror to society, do you feel like the next book maybe will go into the opposite, something a little more accessible to the everyman, versus, I want to see how the ultra wealthy live because it's fun and I don't have to think about my Walmart life,
I don't know, man. I don't know what the next book will be. I've thought about it. I've got a couple options. And like I said, something will step forward.
I want you to go poor.
You want me to go poor?
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not going poor. I know what I'm like. I know what I'm likely doing, which is the next book will be called Divorce Tower.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the Divorce Towers?
No.
But I feel like it's apartment or condo buildings where divorced dads go to live when they get kicked out of their house.
There are 3 buildings in the United States. One of them is in Lower Manhattan. 2 of them are in Los Angeles. One in Santa Monica, one in Century City. And they are short-term, luxury furnished apartment rentals for people in the middle of high net worth divorces. So the building in New York is in Tribeca.
Okay.
It has 12 apartments. It is 7 floors. There are 2 apartments on 5 floors and then 2 penthouses, right? And literally the only people who are allowed to live there are high net worth people in the middle of high net worth divorces. And so these buildings are fucking madness, right? Imagine rich people in the middle of both the worst time of their life and the most liberating time in their life with all the money in the world and the meanest lawyers in the world at their disposal. I might do that.
That's great.
I'm in on that.
A lot of weeping, a lot of sex workers coming in and out at all hours of the day, prescription deliveries, it's all there.
You know it.
What do you think the average, what are we talking about rental price here? Like, what are we looking at?
I mean, for one of the penthouses, like 6 figures a month.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a game.
No, it's not a game.
Yeah, I think I know the Century City ones you're talking about. I think there's been some high level people staying there over the years.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great idea. Hopefully nobody steals it.
I was writing a book before this that my agent recommended I put aside that I might go back to.
Why do you think your agent recommended that you put it aside?
He was worried it would get me shot.
Okay. Does this have more to do with religion?
No, it's called 476, all spelled out as one long word, capital FOUR, capital SEVENTY, capital SIX, even though it's just one long word. And 476 was the year Rome fell for good.
Mm-hmm.
And I have about half this book written, and I started writing it 4 or 5 years ago. It's about what I call the ongoing collapse of the United States. And he recommended that I put it aside for a while because it sort of attacked both sides. It didn't say the left is bad and the right is great, and it didn't say the right is bad and the left is great. It said you're all fucking full of shit and you're all the same. You're just telling a different fucking story. Corrupt as fuck.
I feel like that line of thinking though is maybe more popular now than it ever has.
Yeah,
been.
Jake Tapper's doing it right now a lot.
Maybe, but I might do that. I don't know what I'll do, man. The beauty of what I get to do, the privilege and the which I do call a privilege, and the gift that the people who read my books have given me is that I have a certain amount of freedom to do whatever I want. So like
for sure,
I'll get through this release. I'll get through the tour.
When does the book come out? When does the book come out? The new one?
June 17th.
Okay, so next week, basically.
Yeah, next week, and we'll see. I want to have fun. I hope readers love the book. It was probably the most fun I ever had writing a book. I howled with laughter and giggled and like, Listen to a lot of 80s music. And then we'll see, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what
Are
happens.
your kids all out of the house?
No, my children live with me.
All three?
I have one who is a sophomore in college, and then two that are in high school, and they live with me half the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so 50% of the time I have children and dogs, and 50% of the time I just have me.
What do the kids think about you?
I don't know. Today will be very odd, probably for them and for me.
Because they're going to read a New York Times story about their dad, and
Yeah.
they maybe weren't really cognizant at the first time.
I mean, only one of them was born when
Yeah.
none of them were born when A Million Little Pieces came out. None of them were born when My Friend Leonard came out, right?
None of them had a subscription to The Guardian either.
Did the Guardian say something bad about me? Probably.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it wasn't something bad. It was just, I think it was like 2006. There was an article about, shortly after the Oprah situation and everything, just kind of detailing everything. But they didn't say anything bad, actually.
There were a lot of the articles back
Yeah.
then.
Sure.
It's crazy how long ago it was. I know. Does it feel long ago to you, or does it feel like it was yesterday?
No, it feels several lifetimes ago.
Because I really followed that closely because I had read the books and read the book and really liked it, and then read all the subsequent books and really liked them. But it was just a different.
Thank you.
Well, we talked about it a little bit, Jason and I, before this, and it's just like it was a different time. It was like Gawker news. You know what I mean? It wasn't as crazy as things are now, but it felt like the biggest thing that had ever happened.
It was astonishing, man. I mean, it was astonishing. It was both a great dream come true and some surreal fucking shit show. But I will say, like I've said this before, people are always like, "Oh, how'd you get through it?" And I'm like, "Get through what, man? That was the game.
Mm.
I came into this before A Million Little Pieces came out. I came in saying like, I want to be the most influential,
Yeah.
most controversial, most polarizing, most widely read literary author of my time. That's the only game. Whatever pain I take, whatever beating I take, whatever I have to deal with to get to that, that's it. That's my game.
It's all part of the job that you signed up for. And then
It is. It is.
in exchange, you get a great, wealthy, healthy, fun life.
It's not always great and wealthy and healthy and fun, man. Like, but I get the life that I dreamed of, for all of its good and for all of its bad, for all of its pain and challenges and for all of its, joys and victories. It's what I dreamed of. And so for whatever the difficulties, I remember when A Million Little Pieces was going down and people were like, "How are you dealing with this?" And I was like, fucking dream come true. Dream come true.
Trust the process.
I mean, I don't think that. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think books make that kind of news anymore, no matter what. Like to your point earlier, I don't know if anything could move the needle like that in the literary world today.
Maybe not, probably not, right? Like phones have taken just simply because of the volume, the number of people who read books.
Yeah, that's
right?
yeah, for sure.
Like kids don't read books.
Yeah.
I have 3 children. One of them reads books. The other 2 just like don't. But for as long as I'm around and for as long as this world still exists, I'm gonna do it. And next to heaven for me was like, just write a book that will bring you joy to write. Write a book that nobody will expect you to write. Write a book that's not like anything anybody's ever seen. Write a book that will make people laugh and turn them on and scare them and keep them turning those pages. All these things are my job, right? And we can talk about the highfalutin, where is my place in the literary world, or we can talk about addiction and my fight with Oprah. But ultimately, all that really matters to me is, how does a reader feel when they turn that last page? And do they say to themselves, that was both worth it and extraordinary?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm trying to do. Every time, every word, every sentence, all of it. Provide a reader and provide myself as I write it with the most delightful and specific and unique experience I can do. And I believe if I do that, history will take care of me. And I believe history already is taking care of me, right?
Yeah.
We can talk about the Times piece. I haven't read it. I have seen it.
Will you?
I don't know. I probably will. I probably won't today or tomorrow.
Sure.
The photos are cool.
I did look at the photos. I like the photos. I'm wearing the same outfit, which I wear every fucking day.
Sometimes you can tell who's a big dog and who's not because you get the moving lead image instead of just the static image. You know what I mean? So it's a differentiation.
And when the time comes to you, not you come to them, that also is a good indicator. But you mentioned the uniform dressing, and there's a part where in the Times piece where you go to a book reading and it describes the outfit that you're wearing, and it seems to be the same outfit in the photo shoot and the one that you're wearing right now. Do you have like a Steve Jobs style uniform that you do every day? And could we get a fit check just in terms of brands? It seems like you know what you're doing.
I don't have like a Steve Jobs thing. I dress like a bum. I mostly wear every day. This will be kind of awkward. You see these pants that I wear?
They're black pants that seem to stop a little short of the ankle.
I buy them on Amazon. They are called Shaolin work pants, and they cost $6 a pair.
Okay, and do you have other colors, or is it a black only situation?
I have black, navy green, or hunter green, and khaki.
Okay,
and then I either wear a white or a black T-shirt every day.
Where are the T-shirts from?
Walmart, man.
Okay.
Okay, so you really are dressing like a bum.
The fucking T-shirt. I can buy a 12-pack at Walmart for $14, or I can go to like some store and buy one, literally the same T-shirt for $48.
Yeah, or more. I mean, that's on the low end.
Yeah, 48's like
I personally
good price.
wear Costco T-shirts just because, with everyone has a different body and every brand has a different kind of cut and feel and thickness, and that's what I like.
So I'm Hanes, XL, Walmart.
Boom.
I go to Costco a lot. I love Costco. Costco is my jam, but I don't buy my T-shirts there.
Is Costco really your jam?
Man, I was talking about Costco yesterday. Do you know who the nightclub promoter Paul Sevigny is? He owns like Paul.
Yeah.
He's a super close friend of mine. He lives out here too, and I hang out with him. And I was talking to him about Costco yesterday. And I gave him my whole personal history with Costco, which is I lived in Venice, California all through the 90s from 94 to 02. I lived in Venice. And I remember in about 1997, the Marina del Rey Costco opened. And I tried to go the opening day, and there were too many people there to even get near it. So I waited a couple more days, and I went a couple days later. Marina del Rey. I pulled in. I'm white trash boy from the Midwest. I didn't grow up fancy. I grew up in Cleveland and in Michigan and Wisconsin. My family ain't got no fucking titles, right? Yeah. I love Costco. And so when that Costco opened in Marina del Rey, you could buy gas there. You could buy tires there. You could buy food. You could buy clothes. You could buy flowers and shit for your yard. You could get your car fucking fixed. Anything. And it was half price everywhere else. And I was a poor, struggling, unknown, buck up, bum wannabe writer. And I was like, this shit is my jam. I love Costco. I still go. My Nicorette. I chew immense amounts of Nicorette every day. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but Costco brand.
There we go.
Oh, wow. Costco's making their own Nicorette. That's smart. They know their customer.
They always have. They always have. So if you buy Nicorette at Walgreens, you can buy 110 piece pack for $86. If you go to Costco, you can buy a 380 piece 2-box pack for $42.
This is good intel. I mean,
at those prices, you can't afford not to have a crippling nicotine addiction, right?
Exactly.
How long does it take you to go through a 380 chub pack of nicotine gum?
Not long, man. 4 days, 5 days.
Oh, wow. Not long at all. Okay, so you got your Dunkin' and you got your
you've
Nicorette,
lapped Mark Maron in terms of this specific sober activity.
This is the pile that sits next that is sitting next to me right now that will be for like today, maybe tomorrow.
For those at home,
Okay.
it looks like a brick. You know, it's a large.
When he just did a cash phone with nicotine gum packets, I will say that is just shy of 100, probably. So you're probably doing around 90 a day, something like that.
Somewhere around there. Probably 50 to 80 a day, depending on the day.
Do you ever have a cigarette?
I do occasionally. I didn't smoke for 20 years. I quit smoking like 6 months before my first kid was born. Actually, it was 18 years. And then for her 18th birthday, she studies art history at Barnard.
Mm-hmm.
Super into art. So for her 18th birthday, I took her to Paris to look at paintings and walk around and show her the Paris that I know, my France.
Let me show you my Paris.
So while we were there, Melanie Laurent, you know, the French movie star.
Yeah.
She's an old, super close friend of mine. We were talking about the Bible earlier. The Bible was a traveling stage show that went all over France, including its final performances at l'Opéra in Paris, the most famous theater in the world. But Melanie produced it and directed it. So she's an old friend of mine. So I was with my 18-year-old daughter in Paris. One of the nights we were going to have dinner with Melanie Laurent at a restaurant that has no sign and no phone number, and you have to be a rich or famous French person to go there, right?
Sure.
My daughter and I were sitting at a cafe before we were going to dinner, and she was like, "Dad, I have a weird question." And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Does Melanie smoke?" And I was like, "Yeah, she does." And she was like, "Will you teach me how to smoke a cigarette so I can have a cigarette with her?" And I was like, fuck yeah. I haven't had cigarettes since 6 months before you were fucking born. Fuck yeah.
So you talk about a proud parent moment. This is about as good as it gets.
Yeah. We went and we went to one of the little newsstands in France. They still have them everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Bought a pack of Marlboro Lights, and I taught her to have a cigarette. And then we were at dinner with Melanie, and in between the first and second courses, my daughter was like, "Hey, Melanie, want to go outside and have a cigarette?" And some part of my insides as a father exploded in radiant joy as me and my daughter walked outside at probably 11 o'clock onto a Paris street in a small Paris street in the 6th arrondissement. And I had my first cigarette in 19 years with my daughter and Melanie Laurent. And since then, I probably smoke like one a week, Marlboro menthols.
Mm-hmm. If you're gonna do it, make it count.
Yeah.
I used to smoke Cool Milds when I was a smoker, and I tried to smoke a Cool Mild, and my throat started to melt. So I switched to the lighter Marlboro menthol.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta listen to the body.
Yeah.
All right. Well, James, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. An honor.
Thank you so much,
and
man.
we do appreciate it.
I appreciate it. If I can ever help either of you dudes out, or you need a reader or whatever, track me the fuck down. And if you want to come to the launch in New York, I think it's going to be pretty rowdy and pretty fun. I'd love to have you guys.
Yeah, thank you. No, we appreciate it. I love the book. I devoured it as you described. So I'm happy people are going to get to read it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for reading it and for having me and for the support, man. I really do deeply appreciate it. It matters immensely to me, and let's fucking rock. You guys ever want to do something with me, track me down and let's fucking rock.
We'll track you down. That's a
Hell yeah.
That's a challenge. Thank you.
And I'm gonna go buy a pair of your Buddhist pants on Amazon and see how these things feel.
You want me to find the link for you and I'll send it?
If I think I'll be able to find it. If not, I'll contact your representation and get the Amazon link from you. I do appreciate it.
Shaolin monk pants, the most comfortable things in the world.
Shaolin monk pants. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are going to, they'll be sold out by tomorrow on Amazon.
Well, they're now they probably have 100% tariffs on them, so they'll be $12 instead.
They're going up. They're going up.
They're
like
going
everything else. They're going
Cost
up.
of doing business in an oligarchy.
Thanks, James. Have a good one, bro.
Have a great day.